Here's a truth most men don't want to face, not because it's complicated, but because it's uncomfortable. When women cheat, it's rarely accidental. It doesn't happen in a single reckless moment. It happens slowly, deliberately, and quietly. Long before betrayal becomes physical, it becomes psychological. That's why so many men feel blindsided. They believe everything was fine because there were no obvious explosions, no dramatic fights, no clear warning signs. But betrayal doesn't announce itself. It develops in silence. While you're focused on providing, maintaining stability, or assuming love equals loyalty, something else is happening beneath the surface. A woman doesn't usually wake up one day and decide to betray her partner. She detaches first, she justifies second, and only then does she act. By the time most men notice something is wrong, the emotional bond has already weakened, sometimes beyond repair. This is where the real danger lies, not in sudden temptation, but in gradual disconnection. Love alone does not protect a relationship, commitment alone does not guarantee faithfulness, and believing otherwise is how men miss the signs until it's too late. If you don't understand how betrayal actually forms, you won't see it coming. But if you do, you'll recognize the warning signals long before the damage is done. One of the biggest illusions men hold on to is the belief that love and loyalty are the same thing. They are not. Love is an emotion. Loyalty is a choice. And confusing the two is how many men stay committed to relationships that are already quietly falling apart. For most men, love feels straightforward. If there is passion, closeness, physical intimacy, and emotional connection, he feels secure. If those things fade, he feels something is wrong. But women often experience love through a broader psychological framework. Their attachment doesn't rely on a single emotional channel, and that difference matters more than most men realize. This is why a woman can look you in the eyes and say, "I love you," and genuinely mean it, while still behaving in ways that contradict loyalty. In her mind, love may still exist in some form, even if desire, respect, or emotional safety has weakened. To a man, this feels like deception. To her, it feels internally consistent. This gap in definition is where confusion begins. Men hear words and trust them. Women operate on internal emotional states that may never be spoken aloud. When men cling to verbal reassurance instead of observing behavior, they ignore the most important signals. Love by itself does not prevent betrayal. Only awareness, mutual respect, emotional engagement, and consistent effort do. Until men accept this distinction, they remain vulnerable to being misled by words, while reality quietly moves in a different direction. To understand why love and loyalty can drift apart, you need to understand how psychology breaks love into different forms. Most men think of love as one unified experience. In reality, it operates in layers. And when those layers shift, confusion begins. The first type is eros. This is the passionate, intoxicating form of love built on desire, attraction, and emotional intensity. It's what pulls two people together in the beginning. It fuels excitement, closeness, and physical connection. For many men, this is what love feels like at its peak. The second type is philia. This is companionship and friendship. It's calm, familiar, and stable. When long-term relationships lose their initial fire, philia often remains. A woman may still enjoy your company, trust you, and care for you deeply, but without passion, this bond alone rarely prevents her from seeking excitement elsewhere. The third type is storge. This is affectionate, familial love. It's the bond that exists between parents and children or within deeply established family structures. A woman can feel storge strongly toward her children and still feel emotionally disconnected from her partner. The fourth type is agape. This is principle-based love. It's giving, patient, and moral in nature. Some women hold on to this form of love even when desire or respect has faded, believing they are acting with kindness or responsibility. Here's the critical insight. When a woman says she loves you, she may be speaking from one of these layers, not the one you assume. She may offer friendship when you need desire. She may offer principle when you need connection. And that mismatch is how betrayal becomes psychologically possible without her feeling dishonest. One of the most misunderstood triggers of betrayal is emotional or intimate starvation. Many men grow up believing that women are naturally more content with routine, that as long as stability is provided, loyalty will follow. This belief is not only inaccurate, it's dangerous. Women crave stimulation, attention, desire, and emotional presence just as deeply as men do. The difference is how that craving is expressed. When those needs go unmet for long periods of time, a woman doesn't always leave. She often adapts, and adaptation is where problems begin. At first, the dissatisfaction is internal. She feels unseen, unheard, or emotionally distant from the man she's with. She may try to communicate it indirectly, through mood shifts or subtle comments. When those attempts go unnoticed or dismissed, she begins to withdraw, not outwardly, but inwardly. This is where justification starts. She tells herself she's still committed. She's still fulfilling her responsibilities. She's still present at home. So seeking emotional validation elsewhere doesn't feel like betrayal to her. It feels like compensation. An emotional connection with another man may begin innocently through conversation, shared frustration, or feeling understood. Over time, that connection becomes a source of excitement and relief, something she no longer experiences in her primary relationship. The most dangerous part is that this can happen while everything appears normal on the surface. There may be no arguments, no ultimatums, no dramatic changes, just a quiet redirection of emotional energy. This doesn't excuse betrayal. It explains how it becomes possible. When emotional and intimate needs are neglected for too long, someone else will eventually fill that space. And by the time most men realize what's happening, the emotional bond they assumed was secure has already begun to fracture. A woman rarely leaves a relationship suddenly. Long before any physical distance appears, the emotional separation has already begun, and at the center of that separation is the gradual loss of respect and admiration. This erosion doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repeated disappointments, unmet expectations, and unresolved tension. A man may believe he's being responsible, focused, or strong, while she experiences him as emotionally unavailable, dismissive, or stagnant. Over time, admiration quietly turns into frustration. When respect fades, love changes form. She may still care about you as a person, but the way she once looked at you begins to disappear. Affection becomes effort. Intimacy feels forced. Conversations feel shallow or transactional. She stops seeking your approval, not because she's confident, but because she no longer values it. This is where many men get confused. On the surface, she may continue to function as a partner. She goes to events, manages daily life, and avoids conflict. When asked, she says everything is fine, but emotionally, she has already begun to detach. Once a woman loses respect for her partner, rebuilding it is extremely difficult. Attraction cannot survive without admiration, and when admiration dies, emotional loyalty weakens. In this state, cheating is rarely about thrill. It becomes about escape. Another man doesn't have to be better than you. He only has to represent what she feels is missing: presence, attention, confidence, or emotional safety. This is why men often feel blindsided. They assume silence means peace. In reality, silence often means withdrawal. By the time cheating occurs, it's not the beginning of the problem. It's the final stage of a long emotional exit that started with the slow, unnoticed loss of respect. Not every act of betrayal is driven by passion or desire. In many cases, it is driven by fear. Fear of being alone, fear of instability, fear of starting over, fear of losing financial support, social standing, or family structure. These fears can quietly shape a woman's decisions long before she ever acts on them. When a woman feels trapped in a relationship that no longer fulfills her emotionally, but leaving feels too risky, she may look for reassurance elsewhere. Instead of walking away, she creates a psychological safety net. This allows her to stay physically present while emotionally preparing for a possible exit. This often begins subtly. She confides in another man after an argument. She vents. She feels understood. What starts as conversation becomes comfort. comfort becomes reliance. Over time, that emotional reliance grows stronger than the bond she shares at home. From her perspective, this doesn't feel like betrayal, it feels like survival. She convinces herself she's being responsible by staying, by keeping things stable, by not disrupting her life abruptly, but each emotional step she takes towards someone else is a step away from her partner. This is why some breakups feel sudden to men. From the outside, it looks like she left without warning. In reality, she's been slowly building the confidence to leave by forming a connection that makes the transition feel safer. When fear replaces hope in a relationship, loyalty weakens. And when another person offers emotional security, validation, or a sense of possibility, that person becomes more than an escape. They become a bridge. And once that bridge exists, betrayal is no longer a question of impulse, but timing. Betrayal rarely arrives without warning. The problem is not that the signs don't exist, but that many men explain them away. They don't want to appear insecure. They don't want to believe something is wrong. And by the time denial breaks, the damage is already done. One of the earliest signs is increased secrecy around her phone. A device that once sat openly now stays face down. Passwords appear where none existed before. She becomes protective, even defensive, when you're near it. This sudden shift isn't about privacy, it's about concealment. Another sign is unexplained unavailability. There are periods when she can't be reached. Calls go unanswered. Messages are delayed or ignored. Later, explanations feel vague or inconsistent. She was busy, distracted, or with someone you never hear mentioned again. These gaps in availability often reflect a shift in emotional priorities. You may also notice a sudden change in appearance, more time spent getting ready, a new style, a different level of attention to how she looks without a clear reason tied to work or lifestyle changes. Self-improvement is healthy, but when it appears alongside emotional distance, it deserves attention. Another indicator is a change in attitude toward you. Small things begin to irritate her. Her tone becomes colder or more dismissive. The warmth that once defined your interactions fades. This isn't random moodiness. It's emotional detachment taking shape. Then there are inconsistencies and small lies. Stories don't align. Details shift. She over-explains simple things. Dishonesty becomes habitual, not because she's careless, but because she's managing two emotional realities at once. Finally, communication collapses, conversations shrink, emotional depth disappears. You feel like you're chasing connection that used to come naturally. Any one of these signs can have an innocent explanation. But when several appear together, they form a pattern. And patterns are the language reality uses when words are no longer honest. One of the most damaging mistakes men make is assuming that cheating means the same thing for both genders. It doesn't. While betrayal is painful in any form, the psychological path that leads to it is often very different for men and women. When men cheat, it is frequently impulsive. It may be driven by opportunity, ego, or physical desire. In many cases, a man can separate the act from his emotional attachment. He may feel regret, but his bond with his partner often remains intact. Again, this does not excuse the behavior. It simply explains why men and women process infidelity differently. For women, cheating is rarely spontaneous. It is usually the result of emotional buildup. Long periods of dissatisfaction, detachment, or unmet needs precede the act. By the time she crosses the line physically, she has often already crossed it emotionally. This is why female betrayal tends to feel deeper and more devastating. It's not just about what happened, it's about what was lost long before it happened. Emotional investment has shifted, loyalty has already weakened. Many men believe that if the physical affair ends, the relationship can be repaired. What they don't see is that for her, the affair was not the beginning of the end. It was the confirmation of a decision she had already made internally. Understanding this difference is crucial. Without it, men misinterpret the situation, underestimate the emotional distance, and cling to hope where clarity is needed. This is the part most men resist, not because it's unclear, but because it forces responsibility where comfort once lived. You cannot control another person's choices. You cannot force loyalty through love, sacrifice, or patience. And you cannot save a relationship once someone has already left it emotionally. What you can control is awareness. You can choose to stop ignoring patterns. You can stop confusing hope with evidence. You can stop accepting words that contradict consistent behavior. Loyalty is not proven by promises. It is proven by alignment between actions, availability, and emotional presence. Many men stay too long because they fear loss more than disrespect. They convince themselves that enduring uncertainty is better than facing truth. But the cost of denial is always higher than the cost of clarity. It drains time, self-respect, and emotional energy that can never be recovered. Protecting yourself doesn't mean becoming suspicious or controlling. It means having standards. It means paying attention. It means understanding that trust without awareness is blindness, not strength. When a woman has already checked out emotionally, chasing her will not bring her back. It will only reduce you in her eyes and deepen your confusion. Strength, in these moments, comes from facing reality early, not clinging to comfort late. Awareness doesn't destroy relationships. It reveals which ones are real. By now, the pattern should be clear. Women don't usually betray out of nowhere. It happens when emotional needs are neglected, when respect slowly fades, and when fear pushes them to build a quiet exit long before you see it coming. The signs are rarely dramatic. They're subtle, consistent, and easy to ignore if you don't want to see them. This isn't about becoming bitter or suspicious. It's about choosing awareness over illusion. The truth may feel uncomfortable, but blindness costs far more. It costs years of your life, your self-respect, and your peace of mind. If this message resonated with you, it's because you've seen these patterns before, or you're seeing them now. Don't ignore that instinct. Learn from it. Share this with another man who needs clarity, not comfort. And if you want more honest insight into relationships, psychology, and self-respect, stay connected. Knowledge is protection, and awareness is strength.